Yes! Yes! Yes!
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Haas, and this is another look at SMITE. This time we're playing Fenrir. But before I continue, I actually have a few keys to give away. These keys will unlock both Fenrir himself and his skin Frostfang, which I'll be using throughout this video. If you want to have a chance at winning one, simply leave a comment saying you want a key. I'll randomly pick the commons, I'll send a private message to the winners, and I'll also post the names of the winners in a comment of my own. So again, want to win a key, simply leave a comment saying you want one and, you know, maybe point out something dumb I've done or how awesome Fenrir is. Now again, we're playing Fenrir, the Unbound. I believe if my Norse mythology serves me right, he is actually the son of Loki and would, I believe, kill Odin come Ragnarok. Either way, in SMITE he is an assassin and bruiser. The bruiser tag here is somewhat questionable, though he is definitely, at the very least, on the far side of the spectrum towards the squishy side of being a bruiser. He is first and foremost a melee assassin, that is to say a fragile melee fighter reliant on physical damage, but he does have more tools than the average assassin to stay alive for long periods during fights, which means he also arguably just about falls under bruiser, a god who can deal a lot of damage but can sustain it too. In the end though, it is of course hugely dependent on what item build you take, and in my experience, I just recommend focusing on the assassin part. So in this instance, me and Hebo with the amazing Hebro skin have actually gone right. Now normally I would recommend you go left with Fenrir because you can get the blue buff, which works really well with your third ability, which is quite mana intensive at the start. And by the way, if something like blue buff confuses you just a little, I would recommend you check out my beginner's guide with all the, well, beginner's information, so you won't be confused when I say blue buff or red buff or left or missing an action or whatever. But anyway, in this case, I'm going right with Hebo, which is a decent combination and should work out fairly well, hopefully. Fenrir's abilities seem mostly aimed towards mobility. His passive is called Unbound Runes, and this means that every basic attack you do with Fenrir grants him 1 rune. Once he reaches the maximum amount of runes, which is at 5, his abilities gain additional benefits. So as you can imagine, rune management is crucial if you want to do well. Getting them quickly, which means getting attack speed, and using them on the right abilities is key. His first ability is called Unchained, and here Fenrir leaps forward and does damage. This is of course useful for escaping and engaging actually becomes much easier when he has 5 runes, because in this instance his leap will also stun for 1 second. I'm actually about to use his first ability here, and I use Unchained on Naja. Sadly I don't manage to get the stun off because I barely missed, but I do hit him heavily with Brutalize, my third ability, and Hebo picks up the kill. Now, I don't actually get why Hebo stayed. I probably should have tried and help him, but with all the archers there, it likely would have ended in a double kill for them, so I'd rather not take the risk. Hebo should have just really gone back. The third ability, called Brutalize, is actually really crazy early on, which is the reason I picked it at the start, and as you can see it does a lot of damage. Basically it makes Fenrir pounce towards a target location, which can actually be used as an escape, but if it hits an enemy within the radius, you'll strike them 4 times, doing basic damage, plus additional damage for each rank of Brutalize. As you can see, I actually use it here on Zeus, and it does tons of damage, and there I pick up my second kill. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually lowered the base damage on Brutalize, because it is pretty high right now. During this, he is also immune to knockups, and if you have full runes, it will also do 75% damage to all the nearby enemies. So basically, this ability is insane at the early game, and you'll rely on this for clearing both creep waves and crushing the faces of your enemy lane gods. I get this at level 1, then max it first, not counting his ultimate of course. His second ability is called Seething Howl, and this is where Fenrir howls. This is where he gets his self buff, which doesn't apply on allies, and he gains more physical damage and physical lifesteal. This is basically his sustain. At 5 runes his ability is also 50% better. I get this as my third ability and max it after Brutalize. Once we get back in laning, I once again have 5 stacks, so I go in. I don't actually hit Unchained, but I do get in range with Brutalize, so I go in on Naja, and we pick up the kill on Naja. Now Zeus will probably escape here, but I did level up to 5, so I picked up my ultimate ability called Ragnarok, which I'm about to use here. I actually bite Zeus, and as you can see, Zeus is going on a ride here with me, and we kill Zeus as well. Now Ragnarok turns Fenrir into a giant big bad wolfie, as you just noticed, where he's immune to all crowd control and gains movement speed. When you actually bite an enemy god, they take damage, and providing they don't have immunities, are caught by Fenrir, allowing you to drag them to wherever you please for 2 seconds. Now at full runes he gets double protections, which gives him a bit more defense, though I find you rarely actually use your runes for this purpose. Of course you should level this up whenever you can, and it is really a great multi-purpose tool for escaping and killing enemies, in a variety of creative ways. Here Hebo wanted to get the blue buff, but by now Zeus was actually back, so I'm just trying to drive Zeus away here. I actually wasted ages. I wanted to use it when Zeus used his nuke, but it doesn't matter. Hebo still picks up the kill on Zeus because he is level 5 and Zeus isn't. So now we're quite a bit ahead in terms of kills, and we're doing okay in our lane, which I can't say about the left lane, sadly. Item-wise, I started with a Warrior Tabi and Death's Stole, which pretty much gives you everything you want during laning. More movement speed, more damage, and sustain, plus you can get one more potion, which is pretty much what you need during laning at the beginning. Now item-wise, I would recommend you go for attack speed. Something like Soul Eater, which gives you more health, more physical lifesteal, and of course attack speed is a great item. Secondly, the Executioner, which gives you physical power, even more attack speed, and reduces the enemy armor whenever you hit them, is great too. Or maybe Ankh of the Golem if you want something a little bit more durable. Now I'm going towards the middle here because Xbalanque is completely out of location and I get a really easy kill. Xbalanque shouldn't have been out this far. You should never go out this far when there's enemies missing, just keep that one in mind. This was a free kill that really I shouldn't have gotten. But as you can see, you can also use Unchained to jump over walls, which is great during escaping and killing enemies. Now, Ankh of the Golem, as I said, is a pretty good item too, because this gives you a bit more physical protection, a bunch of health, and more physical power for every 1% of your total max health. Which is a bit more of a bruiser item, but again, Fenrir is actually also a bruiser, even though I focus mostly on the assassin aspect. Another good item, which again is a bit more defensive, but still great for doing damage as well, is called the Void Blade. And this basically gives you more physical protection, more physical power, and reduces the physical protection of your nearby enemies, which means you'll hit all that much harder. Really, I find building any item that focuses on attack speed will do you well. Early game, the majority of your damage will of course come from Brutalize, your third ability, and this doesn't scale directly with attack speed, but it has a low scaling either way, so focusing pure on physical damage won't work. Instead, the attack speed is great in combination with your second ability, Seething Howl, and of course your passive rune buildup, which is very important if you want to play Fenrir well. About a minute later, Naja has gone middle, but Xbalanque is missing and we completely neglected to keep that in mind, so he comes to gank us. I use Unchained in order to stun him, but he does get poison darts off on both of us. Zeus uses his ultimate. They're doing a lot of damage towards us right now. I'm trying to block a few shots for Hebo so he can maybe survive. I use Unchained in order to jump away. I quickly use Ragnarok in order to get a speed buff. I shouldn't have stopped there though, because I had crowd control immunity, but I survived for now. As you can see, the speed buff can be quite useful. Xbalanque really wants to kill me though. I use Brutalize in order to damage him heavily, but sadly he did get poison darts off on me and I die from the damage over time effect. Now, left isn't doing very well, Ares has disconnected, mid isn't doing very well. Luckily I still have quite a lot of kills and luckily therefore gold, but it isn't looking very good for us right now. Once I respawned, I've bought the first ranks of Soul Eater. I would highly recommend this item, and I see a very tasty Zeus with no mana, so I go in with Unchained, I hit him with Brutalize, and I kill him underneath his tower with no real risk. Currently, they are missing those, so I have to be careful here and actually move away. But as you can see, Brutalize can do a ton of damage early on, and the great thing is you will guaranteed pretty much to hit them, because you don't actually need to aim, so you'll be stuck towards your enemy while they're moving. It's also very useful if an enemy has a charge, because you'll jump right with them. If they have a leap though, like Bastet, you won't actually jump with them. I see a very low Xbalanque as well. I jump in on him with Unchained, I stun him, I use Brutalize. As you can see, I follow him while he uses his charge. I try to bite him and finish him off with Ragnarok, and I do so because it is quite useful for the nuke as well. Now, if I wouldn't have finished him off, I would have had to drag him somewhere, in which case I would probably kill him with a melee attack, but you do have to keep this in mind as well. Now, Guanju is coming towards me. I can't really fight him here. I have pretty much no mana. I'm on half health. I'm just gonna run away. I have enough mobility to actually escape, so I'm in no real trouble here. An interesting thing to note here is that Brutalize falls off pretty quickly in the late game. It has about 30% physical power bonus, meaning in the late game it doesn't skill that well, so it'll be mostly used for mobility, such as catching up on enemy gods with a charge, like you just saw me use against Xbalanque, or maybe to escape rough situations like Hades' ultimate. But the actual damage won't be a huge factor in the late game, even though it absolutely wrecks champions and creep waves early on. Which again, I'm expecting them to actually nerf this, because the base damage on this is pretty crazy, so it'll probably get lowered in an upcoming patch. A while later, Gwonju is still there, and Zeus has come back for more. Gwonju actually goes in on Hebo, he uses Girdle of Might in his ultimate. I don't want to stand in there because that's a lot of damage and I'd get stunned. Instead I go in on Zeus, I try and use Unchained but I miss, so instead I use Brutalize on Zeus. I do hit that, but he pops Aegis. I use Ragnarok, I wait for Aegis to end, and then I grab him towards the tower. Now, I wouldn't have done enough damage to finish him off quickly, so I wanted to get him towards the tower in order for the tower to actually hit him. Gwonju is still there, but I think I should be able to clear these creep waves just fine, and if he does jump me, I think I might actually be able to get him. Instead I try and scare him off a little bit, but I don't actually hit anything. He does hit me for quite a bit of damage. I use Brutalize on him, hurts him quite heavily, but really nothing is going to happen here. I'm not going to be able to kill him, so instead we're just going to be exchanging some blows while we're killing creeps. Now at this point we're really far behind and we're doing something incredibly stupid here. Note that on the map all of the enemies are missing and we're trying to destroy one of their towers, which is a really dumb idea, but I'm confident in my mobility. I don't think Hebo is that lucky though if they were to come, and they do indeed come. Nasha goes in on me, I'm taking a lot of damage, so I quickly pop Aegis because I thought he might use his ultimate. I jump away with Brutalize and then also Unchained. I pop Ragnarok in order to get a speed buff, but here comes Loki, and I have no means to escape Loki, so he kills me. Again, keep in mind that enemies can go missing and can come and kill you quite easily. So after I respawned, I'm just strolling around the jungle, and I noted that Xbalanque was hanging around the middle, so I'm waiting for him to appear, but I don't see him, and instead I hear him attack the red damage buff. So I jump over with Unchained, I hit him with Brutalize, and I do manage to finish him off quite easily. I thought about getting the red buff, but let's not do that with all of them missing, shall we? Let's not repeat the same mistakes. So instead I leave, and I got another kill, but things are looking really bad for us. Ares hasn't gone back yet. Left is getting hurt pretty badly. Yeah, it's not a pretty picture. Now I know Gwonju is at the left and he seems to be on his own, so I made sure I had 5 runes in order to actually try and stun him. I go in with Unchained, but I sadly miss, so instead I use Brutalize on him after he jumps in order to hit him and stay on him as quickly as I can, but Unher blocks me with this pillar. Now I used my ultimate, I sadly missed, and I did something really dumb here and hit him when he was in Aegis, which means nothing really happens and my ultimate is wasted. Now he goes in on us, which should have been a sign that we should probably leave at this point, and there they come. The allies have arrived, and we die yet again. Now, really, at this point, we are not in very good shape now, are we? Now, one thing to note here is that with your ultimate, Ragnarok, is when they're immune to crowd control, they won't get dragged anywhere, of course, but you'll still do the damage. So it might actually be useful to hit someone quickly with Ragnarok in order to nuke him down, such as say when Anhur uses his ultimate, because he can still take damage during that. Of course, with Aegis, they are immune to both damage and crowd control, so in my case, I wasted it pretty badly. Now here my allies actually concede before I can say a thing. I can't really blame them. Ares still wasn't back, and we weren't doing that well, except for me. So this is actually a loss for us, sadly. Not even the might of Fenrir and the Hebrew skin could save us. So there you have Fenrir the Unbound, quite a badass. My name is SMITE, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next SMITE video.